and then I'll go to YouTube Live and see what happens.
All right, I'm still getting just a ton of crackling and popping whenever either you two talks, but if it's not going into the recording, I'll just deal with it.
It's perfectly clear this end.
I was going to say, it seems alright for me now.
It just sounds like a sketchy microphone cord or something, but like I said, I'll just deal with it.
Sounds alright on what I've heard of the live stream, so...
Yeah. Okay. That's live.
Still trying to log into the email.
That's live. Should be 33 of them. Hello, everybody, and welcome to live news for September 2018. Christmas is a mere few weeks away, motherfuckers.
Isn't it? Isn't it just?
It's coming fast. It's coming fast.
What a shitbag.
Yeah. So we've got, for the first time in a long time, all of us have got video. And
well, almost. We have 50% of the video, but we got to the root of the problem. And for listeners, every time I tried to set this thing up, I would just get failure. I couldn't even log into a basic streaming account. And as it turns out, I guess 2 webcams of the same name is not good.
No. So, next time, or depending how quick Amazon are, Scott might have 2 videos in this live news. Come on, Amazon. What's his name? Jeff Bezos. Come on, Jeff. Pull your finger out. Get Scott's camera to him within your 2-hour delivery time.
It's close to that.
So, what have we been up to in the wonderful wide world of Retro Gaming Roundup? What have I been up to? I had a week's holiday. Went to the South Coast. Took middle daughter down back to college to you transatlantics. And combined it with a trip to the South Coast. Spent a week down there. And it was the fucking windiest week ever because we got the arse end of the storm that you people had. So it was good though. Good week down there. And pretty much other than that, not too much apart from Grand Prix Legends. The season finished, season 33. And in Division 2 anyway, I am the champion. I won the championship over 10 races. So that's excellent news. That's probably the best news ever.
That is pretty badass.
And I think that's probably just about it, other than to say that I had an email from James Easton the other day. What's his name in the forums? I forget now. What's his forum name? Anyway,
RF Warrior.
RF Warrior, that's the one. And he's coming over to the UK for a few days in a couple of weeks' time with work. He may have a couple of days off, but I think he's going to be stuck down in London. So we'll see. I've told him to get a train or a plane up here and he can fly onto wherever he's going from Manchester rather than London. So I'm awaiting an email in return.
All right, let me know if anything happens. And
I said I'd take him. If he does, I said I'd take him up to Arcade Club, so could maybe do a trip up there. Middle of October, he's over here. So I shall keep you abreast of the situation.
So, for whatever reason, I can go to any website I choose. But if I go to the email login, I just get the bouncing dot and nothing happens. Unbelievable.
It has moved server, but all the DNS and everything has followed. It was done a couple of days ago. And the new server is much better and much faster. DNS here. So, yeah, could be DNS.
I can't even go to RetroGamingRoundup.com to go to our email link.
That would be a DNS issue.
So I am fucked.
That seems all right.
Let me get you an IP address and I'll send it to you.
All right.
You could flush your DNS, but that might fuck up your camera.
Let's not go there.
Okay, so if you... Mind you, it might not let you connect to news by IP. but you could add it to your hosts, I guess.
As long as I can get to the email, that's going to be 99% of it.
In the meantime, while they sort that shit out, I guess I'll say what I've been doing. And I have been to the Lake District for, it was just under a week, and I was planning on not really doing so much, but at least I've got about 4 game reviews I wanted to write for the blog, and I managed to do absolutely none of that, and spend most of the time either in the pub or playing Tiny Metal on the Switch, which I got given for Christmas by a friend, which is essentially Advance Wars, but built in Unity, so it's kind of in 3D and stuff, and there's a lot of talky
close to the metal
going on, but it's it's pretty good. It definitely scratched that Advance Wars itch for me and basically just absorbed me in, and hence why I didn't actually write anything that I wanted to write. And then I went from there up to Scotland,
and you swam naked in a lake.
I did swim naked in the lake in Ullswater while I was in the
and
Lake
you sent
District,
pictures to people.
Obviously, yeah. You're going to see my ass, whether you like it or not.
I could do without that. I could really get through the day without seeing a random Dave's
Well, just be lucky I didn't turn around. Although there wouldn't have been a great deal. Wouldn't have been a great deal to see there anyway. It was fucking freezing. But yeah, over in the UK anyway, it's been a Great British Skinny Dipping Month of the September is, so there's been lots of
Is that a thing?
Outdoor swimmers. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a website for it and everything.
Of course there fucking is. Wow, I never knew that.
So yeah, that was to get a swimming, because I knew I wasn't coming back to Sheffield in time. Although I said to all the Sheffield Flight Facebook group for the outdoor swimmers, I was like, right, I'm back in Sheffield the last week of September. So if we want to go and do a group skinny dip, we can all like organise to do stuff. And the fuckers all did stuff like on the Sunday when I wasn't back yet. Motherfuckers.
Oh, you missed being basically in a gay soup. You missed being with a bunch of other men nude in the water.
It's not just men. Anyway.
No, it's just men. And by the way, it's high school principals and you. Or headmasters, as you would call them. Which makes it even better.
So, yeah, and then we went off to Scotland, and I got to Scotland very late on Tuesday night. Stayed up drinking a bit, went to bed quite late, had to get up at 5 in the morning to then go to the Forth Bridge and film sunrise even. But then I think we had the day off because it was then motherfucking windy, and primarily we wanted to fly drones. We couldn't do that, and so we spent the day hearing about. I tried to nap as everyone else was napping, but I failed, and we got up and watched lots of trees get blown over and stuff like that, and then went and filmed sunset. And then the following day we got up very early again and drove up to just north of Fort William, which is where Ben Nevis is. And then the plan was to hike into a bothy, which is, for those who don't know, is just basically a stone building, or usually stone, that's an old sort of farmer's cottage of some kind, sort of thing, typically. And they're basically free and open.
So you went gay skinny dipping and you've been cottaging.
Yeah. But we got down to the road at the start of the lock that we had to drive alongside to a car park at the end, and that was flooded. So we fannied about trying to find someone who'd lend us a Land Rover for a while until someone came along that towed the cars through. And then so that put us like really far behind schedule, but once we'd hiked into the bothy, that was all right. I had some food, and then we took all of our camping gear and all the camera equipment up a mountain the following day and back down again, and that was fucking knackering. And not so windy actually. It wasn't so bad, but good few heavy rain showers. And then the next morning, hiked back out to the cars and had what turned out to be quite a slow trip back to Edinburgh. Various stops on the way for food and whatnot. And then the next day, well, that night, I went to bed quite late again, and then had to get up for sunrise pretty much again. So that was pretty nasty. And then after we'd done a few hours filming that day, we drove back to Sheffield. Got into Sheffield sort of late evening. Yeah, feeling all right at that point. But then as soon as I sort of then stopped and went to work and have just been sat and not doing a great deal, I've just been absolutely fucking knackered. So I need to find something to just run around and do and keep myself alert, I think, and just break through it. But as it is, I'm sat at work doing work things and getting very, very tired. So I've not really had much time to play many games other than a bit of Tiny Metal and a bit of 2 Point Hospital before I left. That was getting quite difficult and quite interesting. I think that's about it. So,
well, I've been up to a couple of things. One thing that the date is tentative, so check the Retro Gaming Roundup Facebook page. I will put out information there. I should have a date like very soon. I was hoping to have everything nailed down like a week ago, but there's just some tiny little details that keep dragging it out. However, what we're doing is over at Powers Farm and Brewery in Warrenton. So if you just Google Powers Brewery, Warrenton, Virginia, you'll find it. And it's a brewery that some friends of mine own. Fantastic brewery. They make an amazing spectrum of beers, and they're not just, the IPA. They have literally out of 12 beers on tap, they have one IPA. Everything else is just everything from dark, heavy porters to fairly light, crisp, citrus type beers. Just an amazing quality of beers. And the brewery is so small that you sit at the bar and you can reach over, touch the fermenters, it's small. It's a nice indoor space. It's just quite intimate, So I was talking with Kevin and Mel, the owners, and we were sort of tossing this idea around a few months ago, and because they classic games and all, and I said, well, let's do a gaming night. So we sort of worked out the technical details. So what it should be is October the 6th. I will have more details. It might bump to, I think, the 13th, but hopefully the 6th. Anyway, check Retro Gaming Roundup Facebook page, and I'll promote it there. So basically, come out, have some beer, play some games. We'll be trucking over about 14, 15 games from my house, some pins, some vids, and setting them up on free play. So it'll just be a nice Retro Gaming Roundup / Powers Brewery gaming night. So hope to see some of the listeners there. That would be really, really cool to see you guys come out to this event. And like I said, I will let you know when it is. But loosely, if you plan on October 6th, you probably won't be wrong. So that's been cool, just working on the details of setting that up. The other thing there's two things, one quite successful and one unsuccessful. I have given up on a PS Vita for online play, the remote play. It was an incredible feature, and it only works if you have a straight open, super unlimited connection. I mean, it is brutal what this requires. So if I sit down and do local Wi-Fi, I can sit there and watch my PS4 play on the PS Vita, which the first time I tested, I was like, this is unbelievable. It's seamless. I'm just, I'm sitting there in the garage with, looking at the PS4. So then I went over to my neighbor's house, logged on to his router. So it's going through, the full internet, right? And I was sitting there playing my PS4 on the Vita. Looks great. I took it over to the brewery where they have Wi-Fi, logged onto their Wi-Fi, completely different service provider, going through the full interwebs. And I'm sitting there playing the PS4. I'm like, this is fantastic, right? So I take it to work on one of the overnight shifts when everything's kind of dead, power it up, log into the Wi-Fi, and it just simply says connection, not fast enough or insufficient, whatever. And I started reading up on this. And I also had the same problem, by the way, at airports, hotels, and the workplace. Basically, the 3 places I would want to use remote play. So there's apparently, if you got a PS Vita, there's a setting under power that by default cripples the Wi-Fi to save energy. So you have to go in there and disable that, and then you get full Wi-Fi power, right? Didn't do a fucking thing. I'm sitting there, full signal bars, and it says insufficient, signal. I'm like, no, it's not. So there is, apparently it's got quite a lot to do with the router permissions and security and all that, which is set obviously more stringent in a public location like hotel, workplace, or airport. So effectively, if I go to a friend's house with, just a conventional off-the-shelf router, excellent Wi-Fi, I can use it. If I'm sitting in my own garage, I can use it. But airports, hotels, and workplace, it doesn't work. So after trying every possible setting, I put the thing back in its case, pitched it on the shelf with great vigor, and it's probably going to sit there until the LiPo batteries die in it because it's fucking useless, Sony. And there's no override. There's no, you know what, I'll live with it. Or let's try anyway. It's no, I don't like something, you're not even going to, so it's just useless, which was a deep disappointment. So that was a stunning failure. So there was that. And the other great success is I greatly enjoyed Fallout 4. I really, really enjoyed Fallout 4. So much so that I actually just went back through the other day and started a new game to replay it. But and the first time I played it, I joined the Brotherhood of Steel faction because, as I've said, they really fix things for us non-double thumb gamers, For us, there aren't going to hold like R1, R2, R3, up, left, right, analog left, analog right to creep past a guard. No, that's not going to happen. I want to walk over the guard and squish them like a grape. Okay, Brotherhood of Steel. Get power armor, T60 power armor, freaking amp it up to like Class F, Class G, and just tank over everybody. And it's fantastic. So, I enjoyed beating the game, with the Brotherhood of Steel faction. So I got to thinking about, man, I would love to see what happens when you play the Institute, like when you side with the bad guys. So I restarted a whole new fresh game and all that. And I just love that the whole Fallout world has really clicked with me. So I thought, hey, let's check and see what's coming down the pike for Fallout 76, because I knew it was coming soon. So I go to Fallout, I go to Amazon. Oh, it's coming out in like 2.5 weeks. Great. So I click on the pre-order and all. And funny thing about the pre-order, I'll compress this up real quick. Funny thing about the pre-order for Fallout 76, they always they do now like the good, better, best versions of games. So there's like the basic version of the game. Then there's the game that has more DLC. And then there's the game version that has like, whatever gadgets or extras with it. So they have one that has like a big plasticky power armor helmet. All right, don't care. Then they have the middle, the middle edition that has all the DLC, and then the basic. The only DLC in Fallout 76 is some in-game like paint jobs for your power armor. I'm thinking, oh, why would I pay $20 more for a different paint job? I don't care. So I ordered the basic edition. Fine. It's the same game content, which was actually kind of refreshing. So I got that on the way. And then while I was sort of futzing around the YouTube, checking out some of the in-game footage and previews and demos and lectures, from the publisher and all, I found that this company, the Wand Shop or Wand Store, if you just, search for Wand, Did you say something random?
No, it was me just changing page on the channel, and it had a bit of audio. It's gone now.
Okay. So that was it. So if you select, if you search either Wand Shop or Wand Store, there's a company. Actually, I'm going to look for it because I want to make sure I tell you what this is, because I don't know how many more of these they're going to have, and you really, really want to get a hold of this. Oh, come on, you. So all of the internet works for me, but our mail still. All right, so it's called the Wand Company. So if you search Wand Company Pip-Boy, you'll find this thing. Hey, co-host, you guys should take a look at this real quick. This is incredible. So you basically, what you get is this really nice presentation box. It's got, like, you know, leather and latches and all that. You open it up, and it's very much like a 1950s style, you know, like presentation. It's got these beautiful graphics, you know, and then it's got inside of it a full-size Pip-Boy model. And so it's not pre-assembled. And, you know, you build it and construct it and all that. And normally when you see these things, I mean, you look at how nicely this is put together. And, you know, this is the kind of thing, we kind of play this game at work where, you know, any of us gamers will find something like this and go, hey, come check this out. All right, what do you guess? I look at it, I go, I'd pay $150 for that. They probably want $600. And you click on it, hey, $680. I was right? I'm not paying $680 for that. Fuck that, right? So we're sort of playing that game, and I looked at it and I said, yeah, I paid $150 for that, no problem. That's, you know, because I'm thinking, like, in terms of production costs, the tooling, all that, you know, it takes them $75 to get out the door. They sell it for $150. All right, good. So I'm clicking on it, expecting probably $700-800, and it's $150. I'm like, pre-order, buy now, you know. So I ordered one of these, and one of the neat things is there was an interview with Tested that was interviewing the company that makes these, and they said, yeah, the screen's just inert. It doesn't do anything because we knew that people would go in and do whatever they want to do with it. So we just left that part alone so that, you know, people could pay a little less for it and then do what they want to do with it. So I think it was quite brilliant. Instead of, you know, futzing around with the cost of, you know, LEDs or a static image or whatever, they just left it alone, knowing that we're going to shove in a Pi touchscreen and all that. So I got a spare Pi 2 with a touchscreen, and as soon as this thing arrives, which I'm hearing is probably about a month, I'm going to build it, put it into Pi, and load up a bunch of those little mini games like the Red Menace, which is basically Donkey Kong, you know, except in the holotape style. So I very much look forward to hooking this thing up with the Pi Zero running games and Fallout videos and all that. And I'm just going to make a new kind of like, you know, leather insert so that the assembled version can go inside the box. Put a little acrylic case over it, put it up on the shelf upstairs. So it'll go, I think, quite well with the rest of the props and other things I've got going on there. So take a look at this thing. It's absolutely beautiful. If you at all, you know, like the franchise and you like, you know, movie props, game props and all that, I would definitely suggest getting one of these ordered real quick. It's a steal. It's one of those things where it's like they actually made a good product that's worth buying at a reasonable price. So I would strongly recommend getting one of these ordered. And that's kind of what I've been up to.
I've been up to sending you a load of the emails. I think it's got to be your DNS, dude, because we have moved the server this week. So I would just flush your DNS and let it re-register again. But that could be for another day. But I sent them to your Subaru Brat address.
All right.
I think I got most of them. I didn't bother with the duplicates. I thought that would have been rude. Send you 3 of the same ones. There's a couple that you should have received, I think, first that you might like to pick up. A couple from Sean.
I haven't gotten a one yet.
Oh.
Oh no.
I'm going to try this DNS flush. If it dicks up the camera, it dicks up the camera.
Well, I shall pick up one in the meantime. Is anyone else having the live news stream stuttering, or is it just me?
Yeah, I have, and it's now gone to It's gone to about it's gone to 144p, not even 240p. But then I've had issues since I've been back from Scotland. Any device, YouTube for me, seems to really want to play low quality for a lot longer than it should do.
Let me just...
So I don't know if there's something on their back end that's gone a bit weird at the moment.
I might have had something running in the background. I've stopped it, but it shouldn't have affected anything. It was internal, but we'll see. See if that helps at all. The stream looks fine going out when it's leaving me, so...
Which answers my question that I was going to ask of, am I coming into you smoothly? But
yeah.
I guess
Yeah,
so.
when I'm watching OBS up there, it's looking good. So we'll see if that helps at all.
Reload the page.
Yeah, I've tried different browsers. Let's refresh it again and see if that does anything.
Still a bit ropey on my end, it would seem.
It's not. Yeah, it's nothing on this machine. It's,
Oh, that's better.
Is
Something's
it?
happened. Oh, I've got spinny wheels on all the camera feeds, but the panda's
so have I.
going at it.
Yeah, the panda's all right. Maybe it's Ustream. Maybe it's
Scott's
YouTube.
got better.
That seems to be better now.
Well, for whatever reason, I flushed the DNS. I cannot get to RetroGamingRoundup.com nor email servers. Every other site I tried works.
Well, that's a bit dodgy. Give me your external IP in Skype. See if you can get to whatismyip.com. Anyway, during all of that, I did note down a show title, Touching the Fermenters. It sounds like a Doctor Who show title as well.
Doesn't it?
So we shall pick one up then in the meantime from Sean Stevenson. Hey guys, here's a nice long article discussing the Smithsonian and MOMA's, what's that? Museum of something, I'm guessing. Preservation efforts. And check out the Bizarro
Modern art.
Museum of Modern Art. There you go. MoMA to anyone else, apparently. And check out the Bizarro Gyrus Cab. So let's have a look at the Bizarro Gyrus Cab. It's an article on Twin Galaxies. I shall try and post it in news and be sociable. Then people can follow along. And also, this is one that I set up for the live news feed. So if I do that there, you can watch me scroll down it and we can read it together. How cute is that? So, now Chrome's decided not to do anything on this machine. What's happening with the big internet companies? YouTube, Ustream and Chrome, or Google are all having an issue. Although I suppose YouTube is the same thing. So, all right, you can just look at the banner of it, and I'll scroll on this one. Some effort, not heifers, has been spent on recognising games as an art for preservation, but is it enough? We look at some efforts and speak to arcade and classic gaming experts about their values in protecting history. It is indeed a big long article. Just looking at the size of the little scroll bar there, it does go on and on. Too long to cover it all here. But you've got Doc Mack on there, who they've spoken to. Ken House, these are some of the bigger collectors. Steve Hyde is there as well. Let's have a look. Ben Nichols. They've interviewed quite a few people on this. Don't see Brian Q in there. I don't think there's a kill screen coming up, but yeah.
We've been around a while, kind of been doing this.
So let's flick back to the feed then, if that page isn't going to work in Chrome. In fact, I think I might be as well just to restart Chrome on that machine. We'll see what happens. So thanks, Sean, for that. He sent a couple that Scott might receive through email at some point. Have you got the emails?
None. I've received no emails from you, and I just texted you my IP info.
I emailed you earlier, so that was working.
Yes, I absolutely got the Twitch key. 1:39 p.m. No problem.
Let me look at my sent items. Let's see who I sent the news to. No, they're all there. Do you know what? They've gone to your Subaru Brat account, but they've gone from my RGR account. So I wonder what's going on there.
It's borked.
Let me send the fucker again and change the sender. Let's see if that works. And see if you get this one from there. Tell me if you get that one before I send them all. This is going to be great on the unedited YouTube video when people watch it later. You might want to listen to the podcast for this one.
Hey guys, check out this channel. It's 3 idiots trying to check email.
One guy flushed his DNS. It was crazy. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button.
Ring that bell. Thumbs up and like.
And now the live page has gone tits up for me again.
I get nothing.
Run out of wine again now.
Nothing, Mike. Nothing.
Well, that was working.
Oh, no, I just got the Art of Preservation of Games. That came in.
All right, let me resend them. Random pick a couple, and I'll resend them to Scott again from a different account.
I've just been looking at one sent in by Spinal, which is a Virtual Boy console. And he says, "Hi guys, it looks like someone on Twitter made a regular games console out of a Virtual Boy. Here is a link, that's all I know about it." And I've gone on and dug around and watched the video. And at the moment, that's all I know about it as well. The guy's page seems to have a bunch of furry drawings and some odds and ends of random tech things. There's some LCD display that someone's done showing a picture of Kim Jong. There is a close-up of the Game Boy CPU, like a section of it, asking what bits of it are. Not a great deal of info on this, but I'll describe it for those watching in black and white. There is, basically, he's got a small metal box. Kind of looks a bit like some modern arcade games that have like a console, super gun type black metal solid case. Actually, a lot like if anyone's seen one, the Nintendo Wii dev kit. But anyway, and he puts a Virtual Boy cartridge in it, and sure enough, it plays to an analog TV in 2D. And it's red to start with while he's just demonstrating it, but then there's a button on the front and it cycles through various colours. So they've obviously got whatever video chip they've got working in there. It's customizable. Everything about I've just found the bloody link now. So there's a website called furtech.free.fr/virtual tap, and it is what looks like some form of possibly I would imagine anyway, an FPGA on a board that's in a ribbon cable which plugs into the Virtual Boy, and you can get VGA at 800 by 600 at 60 FPS, upscaling which doubles a pixel, so you get an actual pixel rate of 768 by 448. Or you can have an NTSC RGB output of 240p at 60 FPS, which is slightly squished horizontally by the sounds of things and the looks of things from the screenshots. This fucking hell, this cost you, if you wanted to buy this, €40, including PayPal fees. Shipping to inside the EU is €5.60 for 1 to 3 kits. Outside of the EU is €5.80. So that's pretty fucking decent, really, for all of this. Obviously, people have asked, can I play it on a 3D TV? Why is there no HDMI? Why is there no composite? And various answers are HDMI is a pain in the ass because it's analog video. Composite would look shit. There's no audio output because there's already audio jack on the Virtual Boy motherboard. Now, this interesting question for me. I need to fix my Virtual Boy. I could make a console out of it instead, but really for me, part of the fun of the Virtual Boy is the 3D. So
yeah, without that, why bother?
Yeah, if I was going to play my games in 2D, I'd just emulate them. And what I really want is an emulator that will support the PSVR and the headset, and then I can at least use that and use that to play Virtual Boy stuff. Or obviously, I could fix my Virtual Boy, but I'm lazy. But that's a pretty cool project. Yeah, not sure it's worth ripping up a Virtual Boy for. Well, we don't have to rip it too much, but
no, I just do it and fix it. So just to rewind a tad here, we had that article about the art of video game and the values of video game preservation on it, right? So I took a quick look, and I said, this seems familiar. First thing, the Smithsonian Museum of Art. In 2012, the Smithsonian launched an exhibition entitled The Art of Video Games, right? I'm like, I remember that. Oh, that's right, because I went to fucking D.C. twice and sat down with Smithsonian, answered tons of questions, walked through the facility with them, discussed layout, because, they called us in being, experts in video game trade shows and all that, having exhibited at many. And I did a quick search for my email. Oh, yeah, look, I still have all the emails where we did the interviews, discussed the release of them and all that. So I certainly remember doing this. But once again, we get douched for the credit. So whatever. Got one here that I sent in about vinyl video. Now, this is a pretty cool product. Apparently, somebody did this about 10 years ago. And it's a neat little project where you take a conventional record player and you put on a record, and then you take the audio feed from the record, run it into a converter, and then it outputs video. Now, this is sort of a low resolution, low fidelity, just because you can, right? And there's a version of this, the RCA CD, the capacitive disc. It's basically, I got one of these things. The fellow Techmoan on YouTube does a great channel, and he reviewed one of these. I was like, I remember those. And it was close to Laserdisc quality. It was certainly better than VHS. And it was a dedicated, record player that the video is on a record. And it's pretty well thought out. The record comes in a, basically a cartridge that you push into the machine and then pull out the cartridge and extracts a record because they're very sensitive to dust. And it works really well. So these guys kind of did this with a conventional record and a record player just to kind of be, neat about it. So it's actually kind of reasonably priced. It's about 150 pounds, I think, for the converter. 175 pounds for the converter. And it's basically, you take the record, of which they sell several, you put it on your record player, hook this up, and then it gives you HDMI out, composite out, SCART, whatever you want, and it can do US NTSC, Japanese NTSC, PAL, out any of the inputs that you want. So it's really nice. It is Pi-based, but it's got a custom board on it. And then they have what they call the editions, which are the records, right? Now, these are about 17 pounds each. And there's quite a few things I've never heard of and one thing I've heard of. So basically, I'd be spending about 200 pounds just to watch Get Back in Line by Motorhead. Other things they have are Voodoo Doll by the Corettes, If I Knew by Reverend Beatman, Hard as Home by Frankie Stubbs, and a couple others I've just never heard of. But yeah, if I wanted to watch a Motorhead video from a record player, I could do it. I just think it's a brilliant little project. It's one of those things that there's no practical application. You're doing it just because you can, and I kind of like things like that.
Yeah, it's a decent channel, Tecmo, and I watch quite a few of his. Not all of them, but do watch quite a few of his. Okay. Having a few IT issues as we go, but we'll see if we can continue. Random Dave sent this one in, as did Sean Stevenson. The classic Bally and Williams pinball tables that were removed from Pinball Arcade are now coming to Pinball FX3 from Zen Studios. So somebody lost the license and somebody else got it. I wonder how much of that was preordained or whether it just worked out like that. Probably not, but hey. If you've already bought them once and you want them on Zen, you're going to have to buy them again, I'm afraid. Wonder how many people will do that. Probably not too many.
So what's interesting there is that Pinball Arcade's whole philosophy was that they were emulating the ROM set, the hardware, or how they would run it. And so it caused some issues at some points with emulation of some of the hardware not quite being full speed yet and things like that. Whereas Zen's approach is to just rebuild it in their engine, which I know some people don't like their physics terribly much, but also it sounds like they're making like a remastered version of each table as well. So you've got the classic version as you would have had in Pinball Arcade, but then a revamped table which then sort of does a lot of their things that they do with their original tables, where they have like walking, like what would be a static toy of a character or something on a playfield. It will then like get up and walk around and do stuff depending on what's happening on the action. So on the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back one, you like had stormtroopers walking around and things like that. So I don't know whether what's that's going to bring to these classic tables, if it's going to be good or not, or if they're just going to be like, hey, this is medieval madness, so here's a knight walking around in some armor and not really adding much to it or not. I don't know. And what the ball feel is going to be like compared to its counterpart in Pinball Arcade. Also pricing, how that compares to how it used to compare, who knows. But yeah, I think it was better that you had Pinball Arcade for your real stuff and Zen Pinball for your more sort of interesting, fantastical stuff. And this, I'm not knocking Zen Pinball. I've played a hell of a lot of some of the tables in the past, but yeah, if you want to play real stuff in a kind of realistic, emulated way,
get a real pinball machine.
Well, get a real pinball.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, or you don't want to fuck about with pin MAME, then certainly Pinball Arcade was the way to do it. So that's a bit of a shame that they've lost the ability to keep the licensing. But at least the tables are back around and not just lost forever.
Well, got one here from Mike James, and it says the N64 Mini is coming. I guess they're going to drop this for the holiday season. I saw the other day that they're doing a PlayStation Mini, which does not surprise me.
That will come later in the news.
Yeah, and now they have the SNES Mini, which does not surprise me because we've been hearing about it for a little while. Yeah, I mean, these things, look, the fact that they're hackable is pretty cool. I've got my Famicom up here, and it's loaded up with all the ROMs. But, quite honestly, there's no reason to buy these other than the novelty factor, and that's precisely why I buy them. Look, I got a RetroPie. RetroPie emulates every damn one of these things with no sticky restrictions or loading ROMs. You gotta load ROMs, but you don't have to fight the system to do it. They're not trying to lock you out. It's purpose built. RetroPie is freaking brilliant. It boots up, scroll left for the system, up and down for the game, and you've everything on everything on tap right there at your fingertips. It's amazing. These consoles with a select, subset of games, since they started coming out with the Atari Flashback, I remember number one, I was like, that's pretty cool, right? They are neat gadgets. I've got a ton of them. Most of them, honestly, it's shelf candy. I mean, I'm looking up here now, the Famicom, the NES Mini, and all that. And it's cool, that mostly it's just cool boxes to put on the shelf. Yeah, you take them out, look at them, they look neat. It is cool to have like a miniature model of the console that works. And yeah, I'll probably just keep buying these things. And I was just telling Mike as we were setting up to record, I said, I need to add another shelf in the studio because I've run out. And I was actually sitting down here the other day, having a few adult beverages, taking a look around, thinking, man, I got to move some shit. And I came up with a plan of how I'm going to add more shelf space because I really, 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 really need it because I'm out of shelf space. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to this thing. When it comes out, at such point that it's readily available, like go on Amazon, click, order, buy, done, no drama. I'll pick one of these up. I'll pick up one of the PlayStation ones because there's no need it serves that isn't already met by RetroPie, but it's cool. And this is what I've said forever. Piracy doesn't prevent the purchase of a quality product. So, as I've said, Nintendo, Sony, all you guys, stop fighting ROM sites. Stop fighting emulators. Stop fighting piracy, people, okay? Because we'll still buy your shit if it's good. If you release, let's say, for example, Nintendo releases this mini N64, and it comes with a bunch of no-name, C-level titles, and the emulation is poor and you can't hack it, and it's expensive. No one's really going to buy it, and it's because you brought out something that sucked. If it comes out, it's got a healthy, robust list of games that you've already monetized 10,000 times over, so now you get 10,001 times to monetize it, and it looks good, and it works good, and it's hackable, man, we'll buy tons of them. And isn't that what you want? You want units sold, don't you? So how about this? Just wink and a nod. You put, 1 gig of space on the flash, and you put the solder pads for the USB right there, and you let people hack it. They're going to hack it. And then they're going to buy more of these little units. Isn't that what you want? And everybody wins. Come on, guys. Let's just do it this way.
And be careful when you're saying you've got one from Mike James, because I've just forwarded it to you. That was from Glenn Minette.
Okay.
What would be interesting, I think, in terms of the minis is if they do a Game Boy, which I think a lot of people are hoping they might tackle next, or at least at some point, because, yeah, there's a lot of Pi-based handheld, plans out there and people that will put stuff together, but if you had like an actual decent unit that was made with a quality screen, decent manufacturing quality, it was all designed to fit together from the start, and had a decent good library of games on it, that could actually be quite interesting. I think more so than perhaps an N64 at this point, but
yeah, one here. There's another few who sent in another mini system that we'll cover in a little while, and this one in the meantime, if I try and flick over to this again, someone finally managed to complete Doom 2 100%. This one came in from Peter Gibbs. The great mystery revealed, he said, and good to see John Romero chiming in. I think the person tweeted it and John Romero replied. So there was a secret in Doom 2, which meant you couldn't 100% the game unless you found how to find a secret part of the game. And the article here says, it takes a certain level of genius to hide a secret so well that even with mod tools, source code, and over 20 years of time, people still couldn't figure out how to trigger it. Until now, that is. This is the infamous map 15, also known as Industrial Zone. Let's scroll down to see how they did it. I did read this when it came in. How was it they did it? You had to... there is a secret teleporter marked as a discoverable secret, but when you touch it, you never actually enter the sector. So you wouldn't get inside the teleporter sector to trigger the secret. The only way to trigger it is to be pushed by an enemy into it. So whether they figured it out or whether it was potluck that an enemy hit them when they were stood in the right place, I don't know. But that's how you enter it, and someone actually did it. And good old John Romero replied to his tweet and said, very well done. So yes, very well done. I guess people are still playing Doom 2.
Got one here from Carl Klitsky, and he says kind of a misleading title, but really cool. And it's article from the Navy Times. It says crew remotely lands jet on carrier using Atari joystick, and it says yada yada yada. Land a 40,000-pound jet on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier using an Atari joystick. No, not that kind, but close. The Atari, or Aircraft Terminal Approach Remote Interceptor. So basically, they had an F-18 on approach, right? And they passed control over to a crew on the deck that monitors camera feeds and all the telemetry from the aircraft attitude. And they've got sighting stuff on board the carrier that they use to guide the landing aircraft onto the carrier. So you've got, pilots that aren't currently flying that are on the ground facilitating the pilots that are flying, landing, and departing from the aircraft carrier. And it's that kind of communication that, another pilot knows how to relate to another pilot. And it's absolutely a crazy environment, to say the least, in an aircraft carrier. But the LSO, which is the landing signal officer, basically it's a pilot that's doing the duties of guiding the incoming aircraft, can actually take control of the incoming aircraft and land it. Now, the utility of this is beyond belief. If you have, a pilot that's injured, incapacitated, what have you, in the past, pretty much all they could do is talk them down or, have a wingman go up and fly with them or what have you. But now, they can just take control and bring the thing down. So that's huge, man. But yeah, that's kind of neat. The Atari. Normally, I'm not too fond of them repurposing the video game acronyms and all, but that's all right. I kind of like that one.
There was one that came in. I'm just trying to find who sent it. It was Mike James, actually. Legitimately Mike James, about a new console coming out. I don't know if you want to cover it, Scott, but there is another new console as well I can do, if not. This one is the Polymega, which was formerly known as Retro Blocks, but they had to change the name. Somebody else had that one. And this is the modular system where you get the base console and then you get add-ons for it. And the internet kind of blew up for a few days about this one. People are sensing smoke and mirrors again. It's very highly priced. They claim to have machines running and be working, but then they've recently changed the processor to something completely different, and that would have undone all the work they say they've done. And people... It's
going to be the first console to ever use a processor.
A processor consumer device. So, yeah, people are starting to call bullshit on it. There's lots of comments on this post as well. Let me just chuck the link into the stream while I remember. All the links, of course, will be in the show notes as well. There's a few apologists for the system, but there always are. But the majority of the feedback on this NintendoLifecom.com article is calling bullshit. You know, they've changed from ARM to x86. They are looking for ridiculous pricing, $250 for just the base unit. And then you have to buy each module on top of that at $59.99.
That was the thing when I looked at it very briefly. It just seemed like, well, I can buy a Saturn and a PlayStation for those price, separately for less than probably what it will cost to have that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to have one unit that does it all, but I'm also going to have a lot more money to spend on games.
Yeah, and the idea with this is it still uses your original games. So whichever route you go, whether you go this or original, you're still having to collect and store your original games, initially anyway, until somebody hacks it. But there was one guy posted here, shipping cost to Italy, $125.
Okay.
I refresh my memory, and this is not a leading question. I just don't remember. April 1st is April Fool's Day, right?
It certainly is, and that is the scheduled release date for this.
So I could not make this up. For $600 on April Fool's Day, you can purchase the Polymega combo, which includes the base unit. It looks like the NES module, the PlayStation module. It's 5 different modules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So the base unit and 5 different systems, to include PS1, Sega Saturn, Sega CD, Neo Geo, TurboGrafx, NES, SNES, Genesis, and TurboGrafx 16. So you get the Polymega base system, the NES module, SNES module, 32X element module set, and TurboGrafx 16 element module set that somehow gets you all the other systems. So all that for $600 to allegedly accomplish the same thing RetroPie does beautifully. That's all that shady criminal shit that Mike Kennedy pulled. We knew that it was technically impossible to do what he claimed he did. But at one point, if you guys recall, this is exactly how the Chameleon was described and the RVGS, that there would be the base unit, then there would be all these add-in modules that would plug into the Chameleon to allow you to play all these systems. Somebody here, I'm not totally convinced this is real. This may be an elaborate troll because they literally are doing exactly what the Chameleon claimed it was going to be for a price that's about the same, released on April Fool's Day. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is a troll. This is a joke. Not a scam. It's just a joke. What do you guys think?
I think if something seems too good to be true, and I don't mean price-wise on that it's going to do everything and be the answer to all your problems, and it's going to do everything excellently, and it's going to be performing brilliantly, and it's all going to work. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. So I'm going to call.
All right, but the question is, scam or joke?
I don't think it's scam or joke. I just don't think. Well, I don't know.
Bullshit.
I remember giving maybe a certain Mike Kennedy benefit of the doubt that he was just he's had ideas that he just thought he'd be able to pull off, but without the actual ability to pull it off. And this could be the same. I mean, there's talk. They've got talk where they're like, yeah, we've actually got licenses to use certain emulators, and that's always the problem. The switch from ARM to x86, maybe not all that much of a problem, because how much of it these days with fast processors you're going to write in assembly is probably quite low. So you're looking at a higher level language that you're just compiling for a different architecture. So apart from a few tweaks here and there, it's going to be fairly common code. But I don't know whether they can pull it off is a whole other question. Even Atari or not Atari, whoever is in charge of the Atari box, that's gone incredibly quiet, hasn't it? Again, for a while, and that was probably, potentially.
You could almost say it blended into its background.
Yeah, I mean they at least had, you would hope anyway, the ability to have the most funding and wherewithal about them to try and actually bring something to market. But whether an upstart crew, I don't know how much the Polymega team have experience of any of this, but I can imagine it's just probably a case of biting off more than they can chew, maybe. But yeah, who knows? I think the problem with all of this lot is just buyer beware. Generally, if it's going to be a success, it will be in shops. So.
Is that they follow the SoCal Mike business model, right?
Well,
one, great digital render. Two, profits.
Yeah, fake some videos. That didn't help.
The only thing missing, honestly, is for the Atari box to come out with, for them to get desperate and say, okay, we got to go to a major trade show. We got to show this thing off. And they show up with a 3D printed, Atari box console that you can obviously tell is 3D printed. And then they show a picture of the back of it hooked up, and it happens to be the exact same space in between HDMI and power as a Raspberry Pi. That would be the killer outcome right there. You look at it, you say, hey, there's an audio jack and a USB and an HDMI in a perfect little staggered triangle, just like the Pi. I wonder what's in there.
Well, I think for their vision, it's probably more likely that it's just someone's Mac Mini that was lying around the office and they've taken the case off it and put it in the Atari case. I think that would
Could be
closer
that too.
to them, but yeah.
But oh man, these things are just turning into such a shit show. But I don't think any of them ever top the old Chameleon. So got one here from Spinal, and it says subject PS2 repairs. Did you guys know here that Sony have officially stopped doing PS2 repairs? Of course you did. What was I thinking? Perhaps, though, you could use this criteria for the retro police. If a company will still repair your system, then it ain't retro. Well, so thinking about that, the PS2, what year did that come out?
Is it 2000 or 2001? It's probably might have been. No, Dreamcast was 1999, wasn't it? So I'd imagine, depending on territory, PlayStation 2 was around 2000. Because I bought one in 2001, and I'm sure it wasn't. It was. It had been around a bit. That was just happened to be when my student loan came in.
Spinning the numbers on that, the PS2 is 18, almost 19 years old. When we started this show 9 years ago, systems, from 1990, like the SNES, were that old. So Yeah, it's retro. I mean, it is funny that they supported it that long. I guess they had enough spares on hand that they could keep doing it.
March 2000.
I mean, oddly, I would say GameCube was later though, but GameCube feels almost like it's more deserving. But I think that's just because it died so much earlier, I suppose, than the PS2, which had quite a long lifespan, really. I mean, you had games coming out. You had like God of War 2 was out at the same time that the PS3 was already out, and it was still going strong. So, yeah, I mean, Dreamcast, was a bit before that and had a short lifespan and kind of died. That feels definitely kind of getting on for a good retro system these days.
All right, so ethical and morally responsible licensed path to purchase the games again that they already purchased 2 or 3 times. Or whatever, but I totally want that little gadget. And that's the selling method. Not that there's another way for you to give them more money to remonetize what you already bought. So I really think they're missing the mark here. I think they're just going about it all wrong. They need to follow, look at Atari. What did Atari do? Well, the company that calls itself Atari, they released some really cool gadgets for a pretty fair price. Do that, Sony. Just do that.
So, I'm going to take one here from a bit further up.
You'll have to, because I can't get on anymore. I think it's catching. I have got them in Outlook, but I can't get on the site anymore. I
was going to say, yeah, you get them forwarded to you, don't you? Separately?
Yeah. Mike, do you need me to re-forward your own emails back?
It might be looking that way.
Hope you like listening to my boring voice, because that's what you're going to get. Yes, Sean Stevenson sent one in, which is a Hackaday story. So my friend has recently gone into his. Was it in his garage or his loft? Can't remember which, but it's got lots of stuff stored there, lots of cool stuff that's all been sat around for years and has got a bit knackered. And so he got his Amiga 1200 out and wanted to start playing with that, doing some coding, and found that a lot of the capacitors are dried up and knackered. So he's been slowly sort of recapping it, fixing it up, and getting it working again.
Check your WhatsApp real quick. Sorry, random. Mike, check your WhatsApp real quick. Continue random. Sorry.
So this is a story about a guy who basically he'd had his Amiga 1200 and it had died, and his motherboard had just been horribly dirty and corroded. So he took a load of high-resolution scans of the board and then recreated it in Sprint layout PCB design software and got whole new basically PCBs printed up so that he can then just replace all the chips and RAM chips, ROM chips, processors and whatnot and other components, but have a brand new shiny motherboard that works perfectly.
Yeah, we covered this one last month, and sort of my thoughts at the time were I get it. I mean, there's tons of boards out there, though. I mean, yeah, you made it. The project's great, but there's no new hardware integrated stuff to find chips. I mean, I don't know. It's cool. I'm glad it's out there, but it didn't really seem like a huge solution that was needed.
Well, I think it's good dedication. You know, someone proves you can. You know, all is not lost. At worst, you can build up from scratch. You know, if you're dedicated to it.
No, I mean it's a neat idea. That the practical application isn't quite there yet, but it's out there because it will be in the future when as the boards start to age. Who is this one from? Let's see. I believe it's from Mike James. And it says sex life described by video game titles. So
I've just looked for the same one.
So people describe their sex life with video game titles. And then we'll each go around the table and name ours. All right. 1, RimWorld. 2, Goat Simulator for our friends in the Taliban. I'm sorry we blew them up. For our friends in ISIS. Oh, that's right, we blew them up too. Alone in the Dark. Half-Life 3. Dead or Alive. Solitaire. It's great. It's just got a picture of the Solitaire desktop. Final Fantasy. Dishonored. Tomb Raider. Or was that Womb Raider? Oh, Tomb Raider. Animal
Raider.
Crossing. Animal Crossing. Super Smash Brothers. Until Dawn. Mount Your Friends. Shadow of Colossus. Earthworm Jim. Max Payne. SmackDown vs. Raw. And Space Invaders. Not sure how that last one is applicable, but okay.
Because you're invading some space. Yeah. So what I was a bit disappointed that there wasn't was Half Minute Hero.
Goddamn brilliant, Dave.
The sequel to which was Half Minute Hero: The Second Coming. And there was also a Half Minute Hero Super Mega Neo Climax. So that's definitely
You're gonna want that one.
And I remember in a forum where we used to just get silly on a Friday and do silly threads. We once did some stuff like this, and I came up with the Advance Wars 2 was Black Hole Rising, so I came up with Advance Wars 2 Pink Hole Rinsing, I think.
How about God damn it, I just had one and it vaporized as soon as I thought of it.
Black.
Escape the Room, the Cosby edition.
Escape the room.
All right, so UK Mike, your game.
WrestleMania.
Think of it as a struggle snuggle. Random.
Yoshi's Cookie.
I'll take Pokemon Go, the European edition. Gotta catch them all.
Obviously, there's genital jousting as well, but that's too easy.
Yeah, it just kind of does what it says on the tin, doesn't it?
Wow.
I'm looking at some of the Atari ones up here. Berserk. Dragster. Pitfall. How about this one? Kaboom!
What was that? There's one called In Your Face as well, isn't there? A Game Boy game.
Oh my, that's good.
So I've no idea which ones we've done and haven't done now because I can't see what's been marked. But I don't think.
Oh, we'll just bullshit it together.
Yeah, I don't think this one has. And now I can't find it because I clicked on the sex one. Which was it? It was the most terrible, bizarre, and ill-considered Commodore 64 art of all time. An article on Digitizer. We pick at least one from there most months. And I do remember some of these. I don't recall them all, but it truly did have some pretty poor artwork on some of the games. But I guess this is maybe still kind of the era when one guy was doing the game and the artwork, not so much as they were in the Atari days, but there's maybe still a bit of that going on the early C64 games. And I sent another one as well. I'm just trying to scroll down and find it. But it was very similar to this. Again, Digitizer, definitive proof that football games had the most inexplicably bad cover art. And indeed they did. Some of these are just pretty much text. So, some pretty bad Commodore 64 artwork for your perusal. This one was the one I was going to do. I knew I had it open in a tab somewhere. I do believe it came in from Spinal. I'm just trying to find it, see if he included a message with the link. He did indeed. I just discovered this cool game for kids, which teaches them logic computing, Turing Tumble. It actually looks like fun. If I had any reason to buy one, I probably would. Have a look at the promo video and tell the listeners what you think. So it is, it's kind of a board that you put almost upright, but the stand holds it at an angle, and you put different shapes onto it. You know, it's got pins on there, and you put these different pieces onto the pins, and you drop a marble in at the top, and depending what pins you put in what location, you know, the ball will drop into different locations. And it kind of mimics in physical form and OR gates and things like that. And you build up these puzzles from top to bottom, drop the marbles in, and see if you got your logic right. So, pretty cool idea. Like Spinal, not sure I'd get one, even though I have got kids. But maybe they're a bit old for this now. But yeah, neat idea.
So yeah, I was just looking at that as well and sending it on to a mate who we used to, when we were working late at night doing QA stuff, we used to watch what were called Pythagoras Switch videos on YouTube, which are Japanese, basically Rube Goldberg marble mental machine things, which always seem to finish with a funky little like flute playing and someone going Pythagoras Switch, and so we watched lots and lots of them, and it reminded me of that in a way. So I've sent that to him. Yeah, it seems cool. It gives you an idea of basically how logic gates, go. Things are going to go one way or the other, and create. I guess you can make rudimentary calculators and whatnot out of it. But yeah, again, not something for me, like you say, but in younger kids and stuff, certainly well worth. Sort of, it's got a good tactile thing and teaches you about logic, of things going one way or another, on or off. Pretty cool.
Got one here from Sean Stevenson, and it's entitled Apple I Auction. And they say there's about 50 working Apple I computers, and one is going up for auction. One prior to that, in 2016, fetched $815,000. That model was bought by Glenn Delmore, who predicted it may have the value of a Picasso or Monet painting one day. Yeah, sure. I mean, you think about it. The Apple II, the Apple I is younger than us. I mean, that system came around, and it's just now getting some age on it. And you're talking about something that's already up to almost $1 million. I have no doubt. I mean, as computers go, and when the home computer, not too far in the future, turns 50, then when it turns 100, I mean, can you imagine 100 years from now, an original functioning Apple I? Yeah, I think it certainly could rise to that. Wow. This Apple I was acquired from Adam Skulski, a friend of Apple founder Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, for $3,500 in 1994. A former professor Virginia Tech named David Larson bought it, and that is something else. Wow. But yeah, here it is. I mean, it shows it laid out, and I think he's onto something here. I mean, these things will, I think, continue to escalate in value right up until the zombie apocalypse.
One here from James Turk, and it is, build a retro PC simulator game. Hi, RGR. I came across this and just wondered what your thoughts are. A PC game that simulates building a PC, just like we used to do. Who'd have thought that would make an enjoyable game? Love the show. James Turk. Well, I wouldn't have thought it made an enjoyable game, and having watched the video, I'm still not sure it does. But you you get to go on a website, pick your components, you get to scroll the PC around on your desk, you get to put the components in, and then you get to boot up the PC and scan it for viruses. So, yeah. I think I'd rather build a PC. Oh my God,
it really is. It literally is that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Again, that's one for me, but maybe it floats somebody's boat. I don't know.
You actually slide the case open, you select the motherboards, select the hard drive.
I enjoy building PCs, but yeah, I don't get that at all, to be fair.
No.
I am shocked and amazed that somebody put this much work into this. I'm sure they really believed in it. I don't really want to come down on them. I mean, they did some interesting work. I just don't quite get it.
Well, I wonder if originally it was kind of a tool for, all right, here's a way of like thinking about building up, certain components and seeing if they all work together. And then it expanded into well, hang on, we can kind of do deals with the manufacturers to include their stuff and basically advertise their bits for them and see if they'll give us a bit of money for each, if we include all of MSI's graphics cards and so on and so forth. I wonder if that's been a factor of it. But, I suppose if you never made a computer before and you've been reading about various components and you can then sort of use this to sit and put together a dream PC and figure out how it all fits together and how you would build it, maybe it has some value. But I always kind of believed in just get your hands dirty and get it done.
Work close to the metal.
I tell you what's interesting to me is how much of this hardware has disappeared in volume. I mean, I remember, because obviously I built PCs through the 80s, through the 90s and all, and in the 2000s. And all this stuff, man, I'm sure, UK, Mike, you probably remember this as well as I do. Walking into the computer stores or getting those giant mail-order magazines and just buying, cases, motherboards, graphics cards, audio cards, and just having, mountains of this stuff. I mean, you would walk into a store and there would be just dozens of a 8-bit Sound Blaster or dozens of the AW32.
I think I've still got about 5 Sound Blasters downstairs.
Yeah. But that was dozens in that store in that day, and there were thousands of stores everywhere. So mountains of this hardware went out there in the wild. Some of these stupid sound cards, like the AWE and all, have become really collectible. I mean, prices have escalated. So I just am in the process of putting together. That's why I was hitting you up for that 98 SE and all that stuff. Is I'm putting together a hardware, PC, to be able to boot up and run DOS game. Basically, I'm building a dedicated DOS gaming computer. I want kind of the upper end of the last of the DOS machines, that would be backwards compatible. Something with ISAs, so I could put in 8-bit Sound Blaster. Something, with PCI, so I could put in, a fairly modern one and kind of anything in between, and rapidly reconfigure the hardware. So that's one of the projects for the hardware flashback that's going to be coming up soon. So, yeah, I mean, but there's so much little stuff where, I was like, oh yeah, I was going to grab one of these cards again. There's none on eBay. There are mountains of these things. Where they all go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, probably my favorite PC was my Pentium 166 MMX that I ran at 233 with an All 64 Sound Blaster in it, and it was just such a good car, like set up for running, the contemporary games, but also seemed to last a long time. But then the quality of that audio card, with it being sample based, but also sort of fully Sound Blaster Pro compatible and all sorts of things like that for the older games. It was good. It's good times. But like you say, where the fuck is all of that hardware now? I mean, I've got probably quite a lot of it in my shed still, but I've slowly been getting rid of it as I've not had much need for it.
I tell you, before you throw some of it away, take a look, because you'd be surprised what some of those things that were just covering the shelves are worth now. Got one here from Spinal. Spinal, thanks for the quantity of news this month. That is awesome that you sent these in. Want to just, thank you personally for that. So, hi guys, there's a new NES game on Kickstarter. The campaign ends October 5th. So there should be a little time for listeners to back it, as well as the Kickstarter campaign. It put together a short YouTube video explaining some of the techniques they use to get the game to fit on an original 40 kilobyte cartridge. It's quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, when we did, CG Adventures, just squeezing down that much data. I mean, I remember the original folder was like 132 megabytes, just of like all the art assets, all the code, everything, and it all had to get squeezed down into like 32 kilobytes. So it's called Micromages, a new game for the NES. It is very much funded. They are at $97,000 of a $17,000 goal and 8 days to go. So you should be able to jump in on this. So it's going to get released in all regions, and they're coming out with Famicom. It'll work with Famicom with the adapter. Clones are supported. So it'll run on the retro USB AVS and the analog MT. That is good. Also, you can get a digital version if that's what you want. It looks really cool. I think I'll just have to back one of these because I'm liking this. It looks really good. Wow. Check it. Hey guys, listeners, make sure you go to the show notes, click on the link there, and take a look at this project. These graphics are pretty darn good looking. It is. It's some good artwork. They really outdid themselves on this. So let's see what you're looking at for 55 euros gets you the game. 40 gets you the game too. So for 55, I guess you get just a little bit more. So that's pretty cool.
It does look really good. I was just scrolling through this. That character with the hood on and where you can just see his eyes, I know that from somewhere. That's a familiar character. Where do I know that from? Is it Mario?
The Wizrobes from Zelda, maybe?
I mean, there's
could
lots
be
of
Zelda.
things like
I
that.
think it's a platformer. Can't remember, but yeah, familiar character. But this does look really good. The manual looks well done. Looks like a fairly thick manual, but the graphics on this you do need to see. The video looks great. Does look a really good game. My kind of game as well. So yeah,
great smooth scrolling, sort of almost Meat Boy style wall jumping and character size to the character size on screen versus the rest of the world. So yeah, looks pretty fucking good actually.
I'm thinking of the little characters off Yoshi's Island. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay. Shy Guy. The Shy Guys in Yoshi's Island.
Are they called Shy Guys?
Like
maybe. Yeah, but those anyway.
So. I seem to think like the hand drawn version of it, like the one on the front of the box where he's reaching up the wall. That reminds me of, I'm sure there was a cartoon when I was young that had someone like that, and I can't think what it was. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's quite similar to various things over the years. There've been characters with glowy eyes and hoods. I mean, there's the Jawas. But that's certainly the purple with kind of white eyes and white gloves seems to remind me of something, but I don't know what.
Yeah. So there's a couple here. I'm not sure how many we've got left to do. I think we're probably almost there now. There's a couple, and in all the excitement, I can't remember if we've done them or not. I know we haven't done one, but I'll save that for maybe next. But this one is pinballnews.com, an article on there, and it's Pinball Magazine 5. I didn't know there was a 1 to 4. Did anyone else know about this magazine?
Not so much.
Just waiting for it to open, which it has done twice now. Come on. So, it is the 5th edition of Pinball Magazine, which has been published and is now shipping. And if previous issues were likened to books, this one is more like an encyclopedia. And there's a screenshot of the spine there. This is more than a magazine. It's almost a coffee table book.
Yeah, this is nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
This is
there's
good.
loads of great articles in there, loads of big names from the industry that have featured in each one. You know, Roger Sharp, Dennis Norman, Kevin O'Connor, Mark Ritchie, Dutch Pinball, Wayne Nyans, just the ones I can see on the spines
Nyans
there.
is a genius, man.
Yeah.
This is put together very well.
This is worth going back and seeing if you can buy all the other 4 issues as well.
It absolutely is. I'm just trying to see, is there a price on here? Is there a subscription link? Is it just a new story
Click here
to
to
tell you
order.
it's out?
Yeah. How do we buy it? How do we give you money?
Yeah.
Take my money.
But yeah, this is definitely one. I mean, I love looking
There's a link.
at...
So it's pinball-magazine.com. There's a link to it at the very top of the article. And let's see what they want.
It looks a lot less impressive now. Once I've gone there.
There it is, just waiting for that to open.
Shop.
I'd love looking at shit like this. I've got a couple of old books. I think I got them off random at a Blackpool Expo. Pinball artwork and various, screenshots and pictures of some of the old pins, some really old pins in that, some of the old bingo machines as well. It's just great looking, going back, looking at... And obviously, these are all hand-drawn as well. The originals are all hand-painted and then silk-screened, etc., but... Fabulous.
For some
artwork
reason,
of
it's
them.
listed in euros. So it looks like they run about 17 euros each.
Mm-hmm. I think you're getting value for money, though, with the look of the thing.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Quality product by the looks of it.
So there you go. And perhaps the last one that I wanted to bring up is, and I've scrolled on to a different one again, not the sex one this time. It is from me, and it's called Show Me the Curve, Journey to Prove the Flat Earth Theory. It's a Kickstarter. If you click the link and then click on the Visit Project, this is a Kickstarter for a team of people to prove that the Earth is flat. And they are looking for £216,206. They have one backer who's backed £1. There are 51 days to go, so you got plenty of time to fund this thing. So, where was the sentence I wanted to read out? We will be travelling the world, each continent, flying, boating, driving, and walking around the world to find the edges of the flat Earth. Our entire journey will be documented in photo and video, which will be edited into a docu-series and revealed to the world. Our hope is to have this trip completed in 90 days, and every aspect of our trip will be visible to the world. The budget we've set covers all airfare, boats, land travel, foot, lodging, equipment, production and release, and home necessities such as having rent paid while we're away. We've calculated our budget and are asking for the bare minimum funding amount. Any less funding would limit our access to the world. We have asked for an additional $25,000 to cover the 10% Kickstarter fees. So they're literally going to travel to the ends of the earth for you. So why not?
It sounds like, they're
it?
just saying, will someone pay for a holiday around the world because we don't want to pay for it?
I mean, at the end of this, they could just come out and say, Shit's round.
Now that would be, to me, because there are, granted, most flat earthers never really probably amounted to much in life and don't have a lot of disposable income, so I get why they're not backing this. But let's say with the sizable number of flat earthers out there, that you did somehow accumulate enough funds to fund this, and it was a troll thing, and they literally went on holiday and came back and said, you know what? We flew around the earth. It's round.
What a great Kickstarter. I'm surprised if the DVD doesn't come out on April the 1st with this one. Wow.
Wow.
Well, is there any more for any more before I go and fix computer things?
One that
I
sent
still
in.
can't get past the idea that the Polymega has April Fools as its release date.
That's that makes it sound a bit more like it's a scam and it's a knowing thing, by them, and they're like, come on, surely people are going to pick up on this and not keep running with it. But
and now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a Coleco Chameleon date that fell on April Fools?
I
vaguely remember something about that.
If only we had someone who was writing a book and documenting it all and knew this shit.
Just looking in my timeline. I don't know if I've got an April the 1st timeline. Let me look.
It doesn't really ring a bell.
I remember saying something like, oh my God, that's April Fools.
While Mike looks at that, I do a quick one that I sent in, which was announced in the end with the sort of the late Nintendo Direct, and then also through my PR contacts while I was in my first part of my holiday. And in the meantime, while I've been away off the grid completely, it's come out, and that is the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, which is on Switch, PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4, and it's brings out a bunch of arcade versions of their beat 'em ups, which obviously Mike's not interested in, which includes Final Fight, The King of Dragons, Captain Commando, Knights of the Round, and Warriors of Fate, which, some of those you'll know from, I know some of them from SNES releases, but there's also ones Armored Warriors and Battle Circuit, which have only been available as arcade releases before. Obviously, they've been available to run through MAME and such like, but this is a nice time to get them all in one sort of bundle. I've not seen much coverage on it. I've heard some rumblings that maybe it's a little bit, the emulation's a little bit off. It might have a little bit of a lag in it. So maybe do some reading. I just thought it was worth sending in. It looks like it's going to be about $20 for the full set of games, which, what is it? I think it's 7 games in total. And they beat 'em up, so they're going to be not the hugest games, but that seems fairly reasonable for some decent beat 'em ups if you like that kind of thing, which I certainly do.
So there's a couple of April dates that I've got so far. April the 6th, 2015, Mike Seeks Game Gavel LLC members consent to change the company details. And exactly a year later, April 6, 2016, Clay Cowgill's rebuttal on the Atari Age forums. The Retro VGS was due to launch February 2016. That was for the controller. All the other dates for the various different colours and collectible serial numbers and all that shit was November 2016. And the can't see the release date for the Chameleon, just quickly looking through, but I don't recall it being April. It may have been, I don't know, but I don't recall.
I just remember that date playing a role somewhere, but oh well. Alrighty then, so that's all I got.
And that's all I got.
Looks to be it from the actual legit inbox. Although,
How about the illegitimate one?
the Glenn Minette Sega Classics coming to the Switch. Let's see what that is. Because obviously the NES games was part of the online service. I've only just got onto that today to have a brief look at that. And what I will say is, fair enough. We've had Virtual Console on Nintendo, the last two Nintendo platforms, at least home console, not including handhelds. What is interesting about this for me personally is that it's incredibly quick from the interface that shows you the basically the box art of all the games. Going into a game, it is like you're instantly into the title screen, and then you can just drop back out and go straight into another game and in and out very quickly, which is quite nice. To be fair, what else are you gonna? There's limited things that you can do to expand on NES emulation these days. So Sega Genesis Classics coming to Nintendo Switch. So this is basically the 50 classic Sega games that were released on PlayStation 4, PC, and Xbox One in May are also now coming to the Nintendo Switch. So there's a big bunch of Mega Drive / Genesis games there that are coming over, which obviously are not going to be included as part of Nintendo's online payment. They're going to be separately sold to you. But, well, I seem to remember from that as well, the net play was maybe a bit weird, caused some strange lag and strangeness, and some of the pings to the server, but the emulation wasn't too bad compared to some of the